Hello, Criminologist fans. Today we dive deep into the puzzling case of Brandi Ellen Wells, a promising young woman whose life took a mysterious turn. If you love unraveling unsolved mysteries, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more intriguing stories. Brandi Ellen Wells was born on November 28, 1982, in Tyler, Texas. During her childhood, she was known for her outgoing and sociable personality. Attending Chapel Hill High School, she loved practicing on her flute for the school band and was also a dedicated member of the Flag Corps, the costumed girls who dance ahead of the marching band with flags or batons twirling. Initially, Brandi aspired to become a country singer, but she later changed her mind, and her career goals focused on becoming a kindergarten teacher, inspired by her grandmother. Brandi was small in stature, standing at only 4 feet 11 inches, or around 5 feet tall, and weighing about 120 pounds. But her family says she was strong for her size and recalls that her presence filled a room. After graduating from high school, Brandi was awarded a scholarship to the University of Texas for her previous accomplishments in Flag Corps, and she continued to pursue her passions while also attending college. At college, she met a young man and fell in love. Later in her second year, she got married to him at the age of 19. Together, they had moved out and lived on their own. However, the financial strain of living independently pushed Brandi to leave her studies and obtain a full-time job. 2 years later, the couple got a divorce, and Brandi moved alone to San Antonio in order to live with a male friend. Brandi and this male friend eventually started dating, but 2 years after that, the man ended up enlisting in the Army and moved overseas. After this relationship ended, Brandi had decided to move closer to her family and friends. So she moved in with a roommate in Brownsboro, Texas, 20 miles from her family home in Tyler. Brandi was then 23 years old and had wanted to restart her life and finish her education. She had reached out to her Flag Corps coach at Trinity Valley Community College to inquire if she could utilize her previous scholarship to attend there. The coach had told her she would need to try out for the team again. Brandi tried out for the team and made the cut. While she had been anxious about returning to college as she was older than her classmates, she also was filled with excitement as she embarked on this new chapter. Brandi had still been struggling financially, so she had planned to pawn her jewelry. Brandi got a job at the local Walmart and had been waiting for her manager to allocate a slot for her in the schedule. By all accounts, she was happy and had been looking forward to her future. On August 2nd, 2006, the evening of Brandi's disappearance, she had traveled from her Brownsboro home to her family home in Tyler, Texas. Her mother, Ellen Tant, was surprised by her sudden visit, but excited to see her daughter. Brandi stayed and talked with her mother a bit, with her mother insisting that she stay the night. However, Brandi told her that she was going out to meet up with some friends at a local club and couldn't cancel. She then visited her younger sister, who was in her bedroom, and chatted with her before imploring her to go out. Despite the invitation, her sister was not feeling well and was already in bed. While listening to her mother's light cajoling that she should remain at home, Brandi changed into new clothes, a strapless white tube top, rust-colored pants, and black high heels. At around 8 p.m., Brandi asked her mother for permission to borrow her car, as her own car did not have much gas. Ellen told her that her car was also low on gas. Brandi then asked her if she could borrow money for the gas for her own car, but her mother told her that she did not have any cash until her next payday. Even though Brandi's car, a 2000 Pontiac Grand Prix, was also low on gas, she took it and left the house. Ellen assumed that Brandi was going to the local club, Electric Cowboy in the town of Tyler, as that is what her daughter led her to believe in an attempt to prevent her from worrying. Brandi was actually driving 45 minutes away in order to attend a larger club in a more bustling city, for what reasons her mother did not understand. While on her journey, Brandi's godmother, Michelle Cole, says that Brandi called to ask if she would go out with her that night, but she declined. Oddly enough, none of Brandi's other friends even knew she was going out that night, which caused some to wonder what her true intention was, if not to meet up with friends. That night, Brandi first headed to the nearby bowling alley, the 11th Frame Club. A family friend named Jeanette, who worked at the bowling alley as a bartender, recognized her. Brandi ordered a drink and told the family friend to put it on her mother's tab. Jeanette made her a cherry vodka sour, and we both chatted for a while. Brandi told Jeanette that she was going to a club in Longview called Graham Central Station. Graham Central Station was located about 37 miles away from Tyler. Jeanette tried to dissuade her from going that far alone, but Brandi was adamant and told the family friends she would be fine. Jeanette recalls that Brandi did not finish her drink prior to leaving the bowling alley at around 9:30 p.m. and heading towards Longview. This was the last time that Brandi was seen alive by her loved ones, people she knew. In the early morning hours of August 3rd, at around 9:15 a.m., a state trooper found an abandoned car located at the side of Interstate 20 near Longview. After checking the license plate and not discovering any reports of it being stolen, he tagged it and drove away. That same morning at 9:30 a.m., Brandi's mother, Ellen, woke up and noticed that her daughter was still not home. Ellen did not think much of her absence, as she initially assumed Brandi had stayed with friends due to being too drunk to drive. However, once she discovered that her daughter's makeup was still on the table with no sign of her or her car, she became more alarmed, as Brandi leaving her makeup at her mother's house indicated that she had only intended to be away for one night and had planned to return to her mother's home. Otherwise, she would have taken her belongings with her. In the early evening of August 3rd, Brandi's roommate called her mother and informed her that while Brandi had planned to return home that afternoon, she had not yet done so and could not be reached by cell phone. Her mother also attempted to call Brandi, but she was unable to reach her. It is unknown if Brandi had brought a phone charger with her. The next morning, Brandi's mother called her godmother, and they repeatedly called Brandi's cell phone until her mailbox became full. Unable to get a hold of her, they decided to contact the police and file a missing persons report. While answering the law enforcement officer's questions, Brandi's mother learned from her younger daughter, Georgia, that Brandi had planned to go not to a local bar to Graham Central Station, far beyond the bounds of her family's hometown. With this new info, her godmother drove to Graham Central Station to investigate, but found no evidence of Brandi nor her car. On the fourth day of Brandi being missing, the local Tyler police updated Brandi's family with frustrating news. They informed them that they needed to go to Longview in order to file a missing persons report, as that was where the 23-year-old had actually gone missing. While the concerned family filed the second report right away, police were not overtly concerned or desirous of applying resources to the disappearance, despite the fact that the 23-year-old had already been missing for 4 days. On the sixth day of Brandi's disappearance, investigators finally decided to visit her last known location, the bar 45 minutes away from her mom's house, Graham Central Station. Luckily, the footage from the night she disappeared was still available on the security camera's hard drive and had not been overwritten. Graham Central Station had surveillance cameras and an ID swiping machine, which proved to be helpful in such a missing persons case. However, initially the police made a mistake by misidentifying Brandi due to a 9-minute digital timestamp discrepancy between the camera and the ID swiping machine. When at first they searched the video using the timestamp, investigators, as well as some of Brandi's family members, misidentified a different woman as being the now missing 23-year-old. This woman enters the club with 2 unknown males. The footage of these people was played on the news for all to see, and the media would spend 6 weeks misidentifying the missing woman. It took 6 weeks for Brandi's mother to not only become fully convinced the girl wasn't Brandi, but to also convince investigators to allow them to see the rest of the night's footage. Brandi's mother protested such an identification, as Brandi was clearly wearing a different outfit from when she left, and she doubted the blurry physical characteristics. Brandi was identified as actually being on video 10 minutes prior to the misidentified woman, with timestamps showing her entering at 10:35 p.m. instead of 10:44 p.m. like the time on the ID swiper. Such a realization was heartbreaking to family members, as for so long the media had been covering the wrong girl, and precious time had been lost in gathering witnesses. Once the proper woman was identified, video footage showed that Brandi had entered the club alone at around 10:30 p.m. and left alone at around 12:30 a.m., as seen on security footage. Strangely enough, she was seen exiting a parking lot where a man was also seen exiting at the same time. The man was wearing a black shirt and a white cowboy hat. The man walked to the left while Brandi walked to the right. While the two visually walked in opposite directions, a shadow hints that Brandi made a last-minute route change and may have turned left towards the man. Some wonder if she changed her mind and decided to interact with the man, or maybe the man called out to her. Some have also speculated that she might have just forgotten where she parked. As there were no cameras in the parking lot, it is unclear if the man had anything to do with her disappearance. As this was the last known person to see Brandi Wells, many question why that man was not interviewed, but some say he may never have even been identified. Police also learned that between leaving the bar and getting to the club, Brandi placed 2 calls to Graham Central Station. It is believed that she did not know the direction to the club and made at least one wrong turn and needed to confirm directions to the nightclub. 6 days after her disappearance, police found out that the car that the state trooper had found in the early morning of August 3rd had belonged to the missing woman. At that time, as Brandi was not reported missing, Brandi's car was not reported stolen, and therefore the trooper simply marked it as abandoned vehicle and moved on. Once Brandi was reported missing, the car was identified as belonging to her after a motorist reported the abandoned car still sitting on the side of the road on August 8th. Police conducted a search of the vehicle while police dogs searched the area. Upon inspection, it was observed that the driver's seat had been pushed back significantly further than Brandi's 4 feet 11 inches frame would require, suggesting that it had been adjusted for someone up to 6 feet 2 inches. This detail troubled Brandi's family, who couldn't conceive of her driving with the seat in such an uncomfortable position. The car contained her purse, wallet, and ID, as well as a napkin bearing a man's name and phone number. They also found a cell phone belonging to her ex, which investigators initially misidentified as hers. Notably, Brandi's car keys were missing. Additionally, a gas can was discovered in the trunk that did not belong to Brandi, and investigators claimed they could not confirm if it had actually been used. Despite an extensive search of the car, police were unable to find fingerprints inside the vehicle, suggesting that the entire interior had been meticulously cleaned. Police attempts to move the car from the roadside likely caused unintentional destruction of evidence, and it remained unclear whether Brandi had run out of gas or not. Investigators attempted to add gas to the car to keep it running, but discovered that the key being used was triggering an anti-theft device. It was never reported whether her gas tank was measured before the gas was added. The abandoned car brought up the question as to whether its driver had been incapacitated, and while it is unclear if Brandi had a drink at the bar, witnesses recall that Brandi appeared to be sober when she left, and drunk driving is not thought to be a factor. When interacting with the male patrons of the bar, witnesses recall that Brandi was hyper-focused on the fact that her car was dangerously low on gas. Despite this verbal fixation, as confirmed by at least 2 others, police neglected to check the footage or interview employees of gas stations along the route in or out of Longview, which would establish if Brandi ever actually made it to her car after leaving the club. Police wondered if Brandi had finally run out of gas after leaving the bar and theorized that possibly a motorist whom Brandi may have encountered could have been involved in her disappearance. However, without confirmation on whether she had indeed run out of gas, this theory cannot be fully substantiated, and no one has come forward to say they assisted a woman or interacted with an occupant of the car. Police also called the number provided on the napkin found in Brandi's car. The man confirmed that he met the 23-year-old at the bar and had offered her a drink. However, she declined. He then wrote his name and number on a napkin and gave it to her. The man was fully cooperative with investigators and was cleared of any suspicions. In another unfortunate police mistake, detectives operated under the assumption that the phone found in Brandi's car was her own. Investigators never showed the family the phone to confirm it was hers or to try to gather phone records early in the investigation. Instead, investigators called the numbers on the phone one by one, asking about Brandi. Detectives were confused as to why only some of the call recipients knew who Brandi was. It would be 2 weeks after the phone was found that Brandi's mother would see it and state it was not Brandi's. The phone turned out to belong to Brandi's ex-boyfriend. He had gone overseas in the military and had left his phone in her care. As a result of this mistake, it wouldn't be until August 17th, 14 days after she went missing, that investigators realized they didn't have Brandi's phone. Once they were able to see Brandi's phone records, they discovered that her phone had no outgoing activity after she exited the bar. Then, in a surprise to detectives, the phone's activity resumed on August 11th. 9 days after Brandi was last seen. The calls made from that day on were short and frequent, and the FBI says such quantity and duration matched the activity of someone likely involved in drug deals. It was clear to the police that Brandi was no longer in control of her phone. The FBI was finally able to locate the current owners of Brandi's phone, a man and his niece, who were shocked that it belonged to a missing woman and explained that another man had given it to them. While never being publicly identified, the man who gave the pair the phone was already too familiar to the police for unknown reasons. The man who gave the phone to the second party claims he was walking on the south side of Longview when he found the phone beeping on the ground. The location where he says he found the phone was only a 4-block drive from the location where Brandi's car was abandoned. While the man and woman who had the phone when police first made contact took polygraph tests and passed them, police believe that the man who initially gave the pair the phone may know more about the phone than he is saying. Part of the reason for why police doubted the man's claims was that, had his claims been true, that would have meant that Brandi's phone had laid on the side of the road in a bad neighborhood for 9 days without being charged, stolen, or protected from the elements. In October 2006, the body of what is now known as Lavender Doe was found burning in Kilgore. As Brandi's car was found between Longview and Kilgore, the female body was initially investigated as possibly being that of the missing 23-year-old, while the victim matched a description of Brandi, who at that time had been missing for 2 months. She was eventually ruled out using dental records, and soon after DNA analysis was used to confirm that it was not Brandi. We have covered the Lavender Doe case extensively in another video. To watch that video, click on the button at the top of the video or click on the link in the description below. In 2010, a man called Brandi's family, claiming she was alive and living in Kansas City. However, he hung up and nothing came of it. Police believe it was a merely cruel prank. As outlined by police and online sleuths, there are 3 theories surrounding Brandi's fate. She may have been abducted by someone known to her. There may have been a chance abduction by a stranger that resulted in her death. Or there may have been abduction with the intent of trafficking. Some think it is possible Brandi was meeting someone she didn't entirely know, which would explain the eagerness to drive so far without the means to do so. And while she asked those closest to her to come out that night, her regular friends had no idea of her intentions. They did not know if she was currently talking to anyone in the romantic sense, either online or off. If she just wanted to go out, they said she could have stayed in Tyler and saved on gas. Witnesses recall Brandi also didn't seem to be out because she wanted to drink alcohol. Some theorize she could only ask for 1 drink from the bowling alley on her mom's tab without an actual confirmation from her mother. But the family friend working the bar recalls she didn't even finish her 1 drink. The staff at Graham Central Station claims she may not have had a drink there at all. This is odd, as there were cheaper drinks for women on ladies' night, making alcohol more accessible to someone so low on gas money. Those at the bar recall Brandi seemed to only be concerned about finding finances for gas. Some wonder if she was told to meet at Graham Central Station by a date who may have then lured her to another location. Family and friends say it is unlikely that she would know a good or bad part of town from general directions and may have driven herself closer to where her car would eventually be found. Although the car ultimately being found with the driver's seat pushed back suggests that at some point somebody else piloted the car. While it is unknown what would become of Brandi Wells after she left the view of the camera at Graham Central Station, her family firmly believes she is still alive, possibly being held against her will in a single place or being trafficked. Due to a lack of cameras and witnesses, it is unknown if Brandi ever actually made it to her car in the parking lot that night. No one knows who put the gas can in her trunk, nor if her car was ever refilled with gas. Questions also surround how the man who found her phone came to initially possess it. It has been 16 years since Brandi seemingly vanished, and while no recent leads have been unearthed, police are always looking for new details, and Brandi's DNA is on file to test against any found remains. If you have information regarding the disappearance of Brandi Wells, you may contact Crime Stoppers, who will pay you up to $1,000 for confirmed tips left on their anonymous 24-hour U.S. tip line. Their tip line can be reached at 903-236-STOP. That's area code 903-236-7867. You may also contact the Longview Police Department at 903-237-1199 with any relevant information. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like Brandi's. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. What do you think happened to Brandi Wells? Let us know your thoughts. Stay curious, stay safe, and see you in the next video.